The problem states a motorboat leaves a harbor and travels at an average speed of 10 miles per hour towards a small island. 4 hours later, a cabin cruiser leaves the same harbor at an average speed of 20 miles per hour toward the same island. In how many hours after the cabin cruiser leaves the harbor will it be alongside the motorboat? For this problem, we have a rate times time equals distance problem. So for that, the easiest way is to draw the table. So here you can see we're going to draw rate for this column times time for this column equals distance for this column. So we can label this part the motorboat and this one the cabin cruiser. So we have motorboat for this line, for this row, and cabin cruiser for this row. So they gave us the rate for the motorboat. It says the rate leaves the harbor and travels at an average speed of 10 miles per hour. So that's going to be the rate, 10. And it says 4 hours later, a cabin cruiser leaves the same harbor at an average speed of 20 miles per hour. So the cabin cruiser is traveling at a rate of 20 miles per hour. The question says, and how many hours after the cabin cruiser leaves the harbor will it be alongside the motorboat? So we're looking for the hours of the cabin cruiser. Based on the question, they want to know how many hours after the cabin cruiser leaves the harbor will it be alongside. So we're looking for the cabin cruiser. So we're going to put this as X, because that's what we're looking for. So we know in the problem it says 4 hours later the cabin cruiser leaves. So that means the cabin cruiser hasn't left until 4 hours after the motorboat. Therefore, the motorboat already has 4 hours. It's 4 hours ahead of the cabin cruiser. So we don't know the time for the motorboat, but we do know that X is for cabin cruiser. So motorboat is just going to be X plus 4. Because we know the motorboat has plus 4 hours ahead of the cabin cruiser because it left 4 hours early. So now to fill in a distance column, we're just going to do the rate times time. So here we're going to do 10 times, so we're just going to write 10 times X plus 4. And here just 20 times X, which is just 20X. So usually for a rate times time equals distance problem, this last one is total. But we have to understand the problem. The question itself says, in how many hours will the cabin cruiser be alongside the motorboat? So that means the cabin cruiser is going to catch up to the motorboat. So if we think it like this, so let's say the starting point is here. This is the motorboat and here would be the cabin cruiser. Right? So they're saying he left first. In some time, the cabin cruiser is going to catch up to where he is. So the distance equals each other. So in this case, we're not going to have any total distance. For this problem, we're just going to have the distance of the motorboat equal the distance of the cabin cruiser. So for this problem, the equation is just going to be the distance of the motorboat, so 10 times X plus 4, equal to the distance of the cabin cruiser. Because that's what they're asking for, is how long will he be alongside the motorboat. So like I said in the drawing, cabin cruiser, motorboat leaves first, he travels some distance, cabin cruiser leaves later, and he's going to catch up to the motorboat. The distance are the same. So that's why we set equal to each other the distance. And now we solve for X. So here we're going to distribute. 10 times X is 10X, and 10 times 4 is positive 40, which is equal to 20X. So now we have to solve for X. So since we have X on this side of the equation and X on this side of the equation, we have to bring X to only one side. And I'm going to bring this 10X to this side because the higher X is already here. It makes it easier instead of bringing the higher to where the lower is. Because in order to bring over either one, we have to subtract it because they're both positive. So I'm going to subtract 10X to both sides. Because I'm bringing this 10X to this side. So I have to subtract it in order to cancel it out. 10x minus 10x cancels out. So we're left with 40. So I'm going to bring the work over here. So I'm left with 40 on this side of the equation equals 20x minus 10x is equal to 10x. Now to solve for x, 10 times x is multiplication. We have to do the opposite, which is division. So we're going to multiply by 10 in order to cancel out the 10. We have to multiply by both sides. So 10 divided by 10 cancels out. We're left with x is equal to 40 divided by 10 is 4. So we have x is equal to 4. So we solved for x, which is the time of the cabin cruiser. And that is exactly what they're looking for. The question says in how many hours after the cabin cruiser leaves, so they're looking for time and how many hours will be alongside the motorboat. So we solved for time in this case for x. X is equal to 4. So x is equal to 4 hours. And that's the answer to the problem.